Hello and welcome to the Grand Line Review, your source for everything One Piece. Last week we finally got stuck into the Grand Line, as well as stuck in a giant whale when we went through the Reverse Mountain arc. As for this week, we are delving into the dangerous and surprisingly funny events of Whiskey Peak. Whiskey Peak is the 8th story in the One Piece series and extends to a total of 9 manga chapters and 4 anime episodes. So Whiskey Peak is one of the fastest paced arcs I can recall in the series, and that's not just because it's short, but because it's consistently moving. This arc is almost entirely action from start to finish, resulting in beautifully drawn pages that move rapidly and fluidly. But the arc also has an incredible blend of comedy interlaced with the non-stop action. While seemingly serious events are actually taking place, the presence of the Straw Hats kind of turn this arc into a bit of a farce. And I feel like in just about any other manga series, Whiskey Peak would actually be quite a straight-faced setup arc, but classic Oda style simply will not allow that to happen for One Piece. Our 3 main Straw Hats in this arc, Luffy, Nami, and Zoro, are an infinite well of comic gold, but it doesn't just stop with them. The minor Baroque Works characters also do their absolute best to crack us up. And the best example I can think of this is when Miss Wednesday uses her feminine wiles to hypnotize Zoro, and almost beats him actually. However, at the very last second, her duck Karu simply charges in the opposite direction, and Zoro comments that he is somewhat ashamed to be fighting this group of weirdos. And just while we're on Zoro, this really is Zoro's arc to shine. As a huge Zoro fan, Whiskey Peak holds a special place for me due to the completely badass sequence where he takes on 100 bounty hunters and defeats them with ease. And seriously, for most of that sequence, Zoro looks like a kid in a candy store as he completely wrecks this unsuspecting group. But that's not quite it for Zoro. Due to a misunderstanding with Luffy, we actually have our first proper inner conflict amongst the Straw Hats. And this is pretty serious actually. Looking back on it, Luffy fully intends on just flat out killing Zoro for what he thinks he's done. That's pretty dark for One Piece, considering that Luffy doesn't even kill his major enemies. But the fight really is all in good fun, and has a fantastic moment where Luffy and Zoro smack down Mr. Five and Miss Valentine for getting in the way. Speaking of, after a 2-arc hiatus, we finally have some immediate villains to deal with. The main antagonists for this arc are Mr. Five and Miss Valentine, both of whom have amazing character designs and are very memorable, despite having been such minor antagonists so early on in the series. But let's not leave out the other Baroque Works agents present in Whiskey Peak. This arc gives us a lot more of Mr. Nine, a character who I didn't really care for during Reverse Mountain. However, in Whiskey Peak he really captivated me with his baseball bat fighting style. Similarly, Miss Monday really stood out to me due to her absolute boss method of hand-to-hand combat. It's a real shame that she didn't get more time to shine, and she was pretty much used as a device to prove just how strong Zoro is, even without his swords. But now to the big reveal. Whiskey Peak sets the tone for the rest of the saga by introducing us to Princess Nefertari Vivi, who is masquerading as Miss Wednesday in an attempt to save her kingdom, Alabasta. I think this is a really nice twist because before now there was no indication that there was anything particularly special about Miss Wednesday. She was just sort of there as a joke character, but Whiskey Peak gave us that nice twist that would commence our journey with the amazing character of Vivi. But what I do have a problem with in retrospect is exactly how Vivi and Igaram were allowed to join Baroque Works in the first place. I mean, Crocodile's plan involves taking over Alabasta, so surely he would know what Vivi looks like. And he would also surely have proper intel on her movements, given the incredible scope of his organization. And the simple explanation is that Baroque Works is super secretive, but that doesn't really do it for me. I mean, yes, it's important to keep the agents' identities from one another, but surely Crocodile himself would be eager to know who is working for him. And he just so happens to have at his disposal the brilliant artistic duo of the Unluckies to provide perfect portraits of whoever they see. So yes, I think this is a bit of a plot hole, but we can overlook it because this arc continues to be a bombardment of important characters, and this time I am speaking of Miss All Sunday, aka future Straw Hat member Nico Robin. At this stage in the story, she really was your typical femme fatale antagonist though. There was no real indication that she would swap sides, and that was fine, because she had an incredible design and an ever-intriguing devil fruit ability. Looking back on Robin like this actually makes me miss how she used to look. I really liked her tanned skin, but ever since the Straw Hats entered the New World, she seems to have become pristine white. It's a real shame actually. And now this is crazy to think about, but at the time of her introduction, Nico Robin was only the 5th devil fruit user to actually appear in the series. So back here, the fact that she even had a devil fruit at all instantly made her someone to be wary of. Once again, things are pretty different these days, where we encounter weak Devil Fruit users left, right, and center, but hey, I guess that's just the new world for you. But this is Whiskey Peak, and it was a great little arc. Never a dull moment, and it gives the story a solid direction to keep following for the remainder of the saga. Although I will say that if you're a huge fan of, say, Sanji or Usopp, then this arc probably won't quite catch you the same way it did with me. They both spend the majority of the arc asleep, but narratively that's for a very good reason, because it offers both of them an advantage and their own chance to shine against Baroque works in future arcs. And that pretty much does it for Whiskey Peak. Next week, we will be adventuring to the prehistoric island of Little Garden for a gigantic adventure. If you enjoyed this video, then feel free to like, favorite, or subscribe, and please do comment with your thoughts on Whiskey Peak. This has been the Grand Line Review, and I'll see you next time.